So that way I can just jump up out of bed and get my clothes on and move fast and be there to take care of everything.
That's tremendous, Rick.
Yeah.
That is tremendous. Share with us a little bit about, again, I know the funeral home has not yet been approved for opening.
Right.
You're not doing any pre-planning or pre-needs just yet until you get final sign-off from the state board or from Ernest Adams or his representative. But give viewers a sense of what they're going to see if they were visiting down the road Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory for the first time. What are they going to see when they come in? How's the facility laid out?
You mean as of today?
Well, no. Let's say if they came in July.
Oh, okay.
They came to visit in July. What are they going to see when they come in? How's the funeral home laid out?
Well, we've got, when you come in the front door, you know you've got your hallway. You have my office on the right.
Right.
Secretary on the left.
Right.
You go on back, we have our casket selection room where you select your caskets, vaults, urns, whatever. All that'll be there.
That's on the right?
Yeah. Then the next door will be the chapel area. We have a large chapel area. Like I say, you have to seat at least 100 people in the chapel.
Every funeral home in the state has to seat at least 100 people.
That's right.
Okay.
And you have to have so many caskets, you know. And then if you go right on back the hallway, you go in and there'll be a viewing room, and what it's going to be for is if it's going to be for a beautician to fix hair or whatever, and then also it's going to have a window in it that if someone needs to come and identify someone, that they'll be able to stand behind the window. They don't have to be in the room where the person is. And the curtain's open where they can see it. Have the embalming room, and then we'll have our retort. That's the cremation device. It's called a retort.
A retort.
And it'll be in a large room. And where if a family wants to be there, which nowadays a lot of people wants to go out and see the retort. They want to see the person put in. They don't, and some wants to stay there, you know, while it's being done.
Really? While the
we've had
body's being cremated.
Right. When I worked up in town at McMillan Small Funeral Home, we had families that wanted to come and different organizations that people belong to that wanted to come and be there when it's taken care of.
Sure.
So we're going to have a nice room inside.
Good.
Large room for people to go in. And then we're going to have another visitation room for a family if they just want a small room instead of using the chapel, that they can have a small private visitation or something like that.
Right.
And then we're going to have a large kitchen area. And it's Myrtle Beach Funeral Home, so it's going to be done on a beach theme.
Oh.
You know, the walls are painted an ocean blue, and the floor is, the tile is a sand color, and they're going to have we've hired an interior decorator, and they're putting pictures around on the wall of ocean scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wheat, you know, or whatever, the sea oats or whatever it is.
Sure.
Stuff like that. And it'll have a place where they can have coffee and soft drinks and
exciting,
and cake
Brett.
and stuff. Yeah.
That's that's a critical need, surely, for families to wind down a little bit, and particularly with a big church located right next door.
Right.
If it's a service to be larger than 100 persons for the chapel, surely the ability to go to right next door or to utilize other churches in town.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm excited about it.
You've got to be, Rick.
So,
now, of course, that's a number of months away before folks can come visit after you ultimately get sign-off there. But I know a lot has happened and will happen. You've had a tremendous contractor on scene as well.
My son, I go down there and beat him in the head every day.
Yeah.
Get on it, get it done.
Yeah. Your son, Aaron Neal, with Southern Construction.
Yeah.
They have really got a Cracker Jack operation there.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's also been working on the Herald, our show sponsor, as you know.
Right.
Working to make sure that the Herald kicks off properly and has a new home over there not far from the funeral home down on the end of Northgate Boulevard.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. Very exciting.
You'll be able to see it from bypass 17.
That's exactly right, down on the south end, right behind Barnhill Realty.
Right.
Right behind Barnhill Realty. Rick, in the newspaper recently, our director had pointed out that he'd seen some ads for direct burial and, of course, direct cremation. What exactly is a direct burial?
Well, it's a lot like direct cremation.
Okay.
There's no embalming. There's nothing done. We pick the person up, take them to the funeral home. Family comes in. We put them in a casket, take them directly to the cemetery. So and put them in a burial vault or a concrete
Right.
box or a steel burial vault.
Okay.
Or there's all types of different burial vaults.
When you say a burial vault, so it's not just the body is going down in the casket into the ground. You mean they're actually going inside something else which is in the
called
ground?
an outer burial container.
An outer burial container. Okay.
Right.
And it is made of what?
Well, you have them made of concrete. You have them made of fiberglass. You have them made of steel.
Okay.
Just all kinds of different things.
And why does it really matter what the casket is placed inside of when you put it in the ground?
A lot of people, once the remains taken care of, the body taken care of, they want to make sure that mom or dad or son or daughter, brother, sister, whatever, is taken care of. And that protects the casket from the elements of the earth. And it also keeps the grave from falling in. Back up in Kentucky, that we didn't have to use burial vaults.
Right.
And people would buy, and they still do, an old pine box.
Yeah.
And after 4 or 5 years, the pine box would rot away, and the grave would fall in, a foot or so, sink down. So then they have to go back and fill it up. And what this does, this keeps the grave from sinking and falling in.
The burial vault.
Right.
That's a very good point. So the vault is just like a big concrete or fiberglass or steel even sometimes box.
Yeah.
And you set the casket down inside it.
I just went to the National Funeral Directors Convention out in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wanted to go out there where we could buy a lot of our equipment.
Sure.
So, and while I was out there, I seen something I had never seen before.
What's that, Rick?
A wicker casket. They have caskets made out of wicker.
Really?
Yeah. And that was different. They have everything at the National Funeral Directors Convention.
Oh, yeah.
It was held at the Hilton out there, and they had 800 and something suppliers that was there from all over the world.
Wow.
So.
And, of course, we want to talk for a second about direct cremation, but I tell you, you've been instrumental in lining up some great guests. Charles Miles, who's with the Pierce Companies, Pierce Chemicals,
right,
who was with us a couple of weeks ago when we were filming at South Carolina Bank and Trust. Just last week, Al Burleson was with us from Southland National Insurance Company, was with us last Friday.
And Southland National is the company that we're using to do all of our pre-needs through. So and Pierce Chemicals, that's who we're buying. Charles lives right here in Conway.
Charles lives in Conway.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And then
very buttoned down.
You've also had Jim Beaudry.
Jim Beaudry, who's going to be with us next week, who's with Batesville Casket Company, who's a great guest. And we ran out of time last a couple of months ago when we were filming him at Graves, Pools, and Spas. We just absolutely ran out of time, so we talked about getting him back in. And, of course, he's been crackerjack. He and his wife, Carol, who's the public relations director at Mercy Hospice.
Yeah.
Mercy Hospice.
Over 5 counties, I think.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That large, yeah. As you think about it, Rick, direct cremation is another very popular item. I've seen a lot of ads for folks throughout the county offering pricing for direct cremation. What exactly is direct cremation? We just got a couple of minutes.
Direct cremation. That means that we go to the place of death, pick up the deceased, take him back to the funeral home, family comes in, signs all the paperwork and does everything, and then the person has to be put in an alternative container. That's federal law.
Okay.
Now, sometimes a family could bring one in if they wanted to.
Really?
So the funeral home doesn't have to furnish it. Or they can purchase one, and sometimes, they're made out of cardboard.
Right.
Or there's like a poplar and a pine and different types of caskets.
Right.
Cremation container boxes. And, there's a press board and all different things that can be bought.
That is very important. Well, as you think back, Rick, for you, for the 30-some years now, 35-plus years, you've been in the business.
But I'm only 24 years old.
Yeah, you're only 24 now. You did it in the early life,
yeah, right.
in your previous life. What is it that's really kept you motivated and so excited about remaining active in, and of course now opening, soon to open?
Serving families.
Yeah.
You touch a lot of lives.
Right. Surely.
Touch a lot of lives.
Not just the one whose life is lost, or their immediate loved one, their spouse or child.
People comes in and talks to you, and that's their lowest point in life, and if you can help them and do something for them to pick them up a little bit, you know.
Right. And can you see it? You can feel it. You can see how that when they ask you, "What do I do next?" which I'm sure you probably hear oftentimes, is that one of the first questions you get?
You know, they just come in, sit down, and most people are just dumbfounded because the funeral business has been so private and so quiet, and no one ever talks about it. You know, older funeral directors just didn't talk about it. Right. So it's so private. And now people's advertising, people's talking more about it, and just like where I'm on the TV program here today. Right. And you've had, you know, the casket salesman and people like that. People's talking about it and telling people what their options are to try to educate people, educate the public.
Right. Those are great words, Rick. I'm sorry we've run out of time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I sure do.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with funeral director and embalmer Rick Neal coming up next. You know, for most of the guests this week, we can get a critical phone number out and promote a phone number. This guy didn't even have a phone number yet, hadn't opened his business. And of course, even if he had a phone number, you wouldn't have been able to reach him. Just months ago in Las Vegas for the National Funeral Directors Association meeting, 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, picking up a new hearse last week in Greensboro, North Carolina at the Cremation Society's Cremation Expo up there. Think about it. Soon he's going to be getting phone calls. He's going to be in town when the death call comes, and you heard him say it. The opportunity for him to be there when folks need him the most and need somebody there to help answer questions, to help hold their hands, and to help be a support mechanism. Rick Neal's doing it every day. You'll be able to see him in action after the state signs off on the opening of Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory. It's coming up. Rick Neal, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.